plan is, as I start the recording, we are going to start class with a quiz because you had a reading assignment to finish over chapter or over pages 1 to 15. So in just a second, you'll see that up here in classroom. It is multiple choice. So you'll be doing that quiz. And then when we are done with that quiz, then we'll go ahead and talk about pages 1 to 15. Don't forget that article of the week is due today. And we need to be able to have that done so that we can have that conversation about the article of the week tomorrow. So make sure that you have all of that stuff completed so that you are ready to participate and be successful. All right, so give me 1 second. I am just going to open up that quiz to those of you that are here. Does anybody have any questions about what happened in the story before we open up that quiz? Anybody have any questions? You can just shout them out. You're feeling pretty good about it?
I couldn't tell if the wife, when he got home, if the wife was dead or not.
She's not dead, but she did attempt, perhaps on purpose, we'll talk more about that, but she overdosed on sleeping pills. So, yep, she would have died if Montag had not essentially called 911, and then they pumped her stomach and replaced her blood. So good question. Anybody else have a question before I open it back up? All righty. Well, then you should be seeing that quiz open. I'll go ahead and read it to you out loud. So it's going to say pages 1 to 15 RQ. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is to put your name in there, choose your class period. Number 1, what does the number 451 symbolize? The number of fires Montag has started, the temperature that paper burns, the number of sleeping pills that Mildred has swallowed, or the time it takes to ignite a fire in seconds using kerosene. The second one, what color surrounds Clarice? White, yellow, black, or red? What did Clarice say about what firemen used to do? She said firemen have always started fires. Firemen used to read a lot of books about fires. Firemen used to use gasoline to start fires, but now they use kerosene. Or firemen used to put out fires. What did she say about what firemen used to do? Not what they do now. How does Montag feel when Clarice asks him questions? He's excited, he's happy, he's angry, or he's uncomfortable. What was the last question that Clarice asked Montag that he could not stop thinking about? Why do you like the smell of kerosene? Why are you a fireman? Why have you never looked at the grass before? Or, are you happy? The next question. What's wrong with Mildred? She has overdosed on sleeping pills. She is addicted to her seashell earbuds. She refuses to sleep in the same bed as Montag. Nothing. She is perfectly fine. The last one. Why is Montag jealous of Clarice's family? They have books. They spend time together and communicate. None of them has a person in their family with an addiction problem. They don't use seashell earbuds. When you're done, go ahead, click submit and turn that in. Okay, Sean and Jade and Madeline, I need you to submit your quiz. It is multiple choice. Sean and Madeline. Yep, I got you, Jade. I'm only missing Sean and Maddie. Okay, Sean, I did. Keelan, if I didn't call your name, you're good. I'm just missing Sean. Okay, let's go ahead and go over this quiz. All right. So we're going to use the little reactions button. Everybody go to in Zoom. You see the reactions button. Okay, there is a little hand raise, little handprint. We're going to use that handprint. All right. The first one, what does the number 451 symbolize? Can raise their hand and tell me. Yep. Gina, tell me, what does that symbolize?
The temperature of the books burning.
Very good. The temperature in which paper burns. Perfect. What color surrounds Clarice? Miranda?
White.
White. Very good. Very good. All right. What did Clarice say about what firemen used to do? Here, I'll share my screen so you can see them. Yeah, Madeline?
Put out fires.
Put out fires. Very good. Okay, how does Montag feel when Clarice asks him questions? Yeah, Miranda?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Very good. He gets very uncomfortable. Absolutely. What was the last question that Clarice asked Montag that he could not stop thinking about?
I can't raise my hand, but can I say it?
Why can't you raise your hand?
It doesn't give me that button. I have like a yes and no, a slow down, a speed up button, and then like clapping and a thumbs up and all the
Oh.
other ones, but the hand raise.
Oh man, just use a thumbs up then. I'll call on you. It's just fine. Yep, you can
Okay.
definitely answer.
It was wait, what it was that one? Okay. It was Are You Happy?
Very good. Perfect. Are you happy? Very good. What's wrong with Mildred? Everybody should get this one right. Yep, Miranda.
She overdosed on sleeping pills.
She sure did overdose on sleeping pills. And then the last one, why is Montag jealous of Clarice's family? Yep, Miranda.
They spend time together and communicate.
They do. Yep, they spend time together and communicate. Very, very good. All right, so how about we give some thumbs up? If you feel like you did pretty good, give me a thumbs up. You did pretty good. Good. How about I did okay? I'm okay. Or I'm gonna make sure I try. Maybe you're just down here. I'm gonna make sure I try harder. All right, I see lots of thumbs up. That's good. Keelan's like, I don't really remember. It's okay. You'll find out soon after class when I input those grades and move them over. All right, so it'll be returned to you shortly after class is done. Okay, so here is our plan. We are going to spend some time really digging into that first 15 pages of Fahrenheit. So you're going to want some notebook paper so you can write some very important information down. Okay, we're going to take some notes. Or you can also just have a Google Doc open in your computer so that you can get those notes taken down so that we are all together ready, because we're going to talk about symbolism. All right, we're going to talk about some symbolism, and then we're going to, I remember yesterday I said we were going to talk about archetypes a little bit and identify some of those archetypes from your notes sheet so you could at least write down the characteristics. If we end up not having time for those characteristics, then I'll just type them out and put them in the stream for you, and then you can have them. All right. But our plan is that we can get those done as well today. All right. So I'm going to get some paper. I'm going to get my projector set up. We're going to start by talking first thing about color symbolism. Okay. So our discussion today is all about symbols, which I know from talking to Mr. Bowers, if you were reading with Mr. Bowers yesterday, he talked about that. So you should have lots of things to say about symbolism. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is the color black. Okay, so who wants to tell me what they think that the color black might symbolize? What might the color black symbolize? Yep, Miranda.
I think it symbolizes like death and finality and destruction, because the books, they turn to ash with black. So I think that that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, it does. It's like all kind of things that are bad have to do with things that are like or like ominous, like dark skies, right? We have like black clouds. It means that it's kind of like there's a bad thunderstorm that's happening. You say that you're going to be kept in the dark, right? Which means that you're what? What does it mean if you're keeping someone in the dark?
You're not telling them something.
Yeah, so you have kind of a lack of knowledge. Okay. Good. So we have a lack of knowledge. It's a place that's kind of like has like negative things. right? So we would think of again about keeping someone in the dark or like a dark sky. Okay, so in our story, what things were the color black? Besides the books, we have the books being burned, right? That Miranda just said. What else? What other things were black? Okay, well, it's going to be like on the first couple of pages. Let's open up our books. Page 2. Look on page 2. Oh, Mr. Bauer says 1, 9, and 13 as well.
You meant to send that to everybody, but I think
Oh,
we're still stuck on yours. But
that's okay. All right, who can tell me on page 1, 2, 9, or 13, what is something that is black?
It says that his helmet and the sky are black.
Mm-hmm. Good. What other types of things? Let's look on page 9. Oh, no, page 9's a big one. What is in darkness? Page 9. Halfway down the page. The what?
The bedroom.
Yep, Montag's
The
bedroom.
bedroom.
All right, so we're gonna pick these apart a little bit to talk about why they are so important symbolically. Okay, so if a book is turning to ash, then what does that tell us about, if we know that the color of black means lack of knowledge or something negative, then what happens when a book is burned? What's happening?
They lose that knowledge that the book held.
Mm-hmm. Right? So everything that they could learn from that book then is gone, right? Never to ever be read again, right? So no one then is able to get that information because that book is completely destroyed. Okay, now here's something very important that's going to come up a lot. Okay, so where do you put a helmet? Keelan, where do you put your helmet?
On your head.
On your head. Okay. So when Montag, I want you to think about this. It's all connected. When Montag wears his fireman's helmet, what happens to him? Because that's when he's like burning the books, right? When he wears his uniform. So what happens to him when he wears that helmet?
He's losing he's losing knowledge because he's participating in burning the books.
Mm-hmm. right? And that's going to become a very important symbol because there are going to be times in the book when Montag leaves and forgets his helmet, right? So if he forgets his helmet, what is he going to be able to do? Learn, right? Does Montag have his helmet on when he talks to Clarice? No, very good. He does not have his helmet on. So when he is talking to Clarice and she's asking him all of these questions, right? And he goes in and he feels very uncomfortable and he starts crying and he realizes that he is not happy. It's because he's not wearing that helmet, right? He doesn't have the corruption on his head. He doesn't have the lack of knowledge weighing down upon him. So he is open then to new information. Okay, so it's important that we are paying attention to when Montag has his helmet on versus when Montag has his helmet off. Okay, it's very important. All right, and then we know the sky, it's just the fact that there is what happening in the sky. It was just briefly mentioned, kind of the reason why when Montag sees Mildred kind of almost dead, like comatose, he like screams, but nobody could hear him because why? What's happening up in the sky? What's happening up in the sky? Okay, let's go ahead and look for that. Page 11. It's close. There is smoke, but why? What's happening on page 11, about halfway down?
Isn't it the jets?
There's yeah, right? Okay, and they have two giant jets that are lined with black linen, right, at the seams, right? So if you have big fighter jets screaming across the sky, what can we assume is probably also happening? What's going on? What's going on if there are fighter jets in your sky?
They're probably going to fight something.
Yeah, there's a war going on. There's a war going on this entire story. But the thing is that does Montag even care that there's a war going on? Does Mildred care that there's a war going on? Nobody cares there's a war going on, right? That they could drop a bomb on their house at any time. They have no reality or understanding of the danger of this war. Okay, and then something very important. I want to talk a little bit about the Montag and Mildred's bedroom because it is a very important symbol. Okay, so I want us to look at a couple of different passages. So let's go ahead and look on page 9 first. Everybody turn to page 9. Can I just have you hold your books up just so that I can see that you actually have your books? I just want to make sure that we have books. Okay, good. Page 9. Thank you. Very nice. Page 9. Okay, so about halfway down, I'm going to read a little bit to you. He says, he opened the door. It was like coming into a cold marbled room of a mausoleum after the moon had set. Does everybody know what a mausoleum is? No, a mausoleum is another name for like a tomb. So he feels like going into his bedroom is like going into a tomb. Like that doesn't sound very appetizing, right? That sounds kind of miserable. Like you don't, and who's in a tomb? Like who's in a tomb?
Dead people.
Dead people, right? So he feels like his bedroom is death, right? It's death. That's a terrible thing, right? When we think about our bedrooms, many of you are in your bedrooms right now. Do you want your bedroom to feel like death? No, it's supposed to be a place like that you want to be and hang out and like rest and rejuvenate, right? And be online with your friends and all that stuff. It's escape from your family, maybe, right? Not a place that you comparing it to death, right? And it was like a tomb-like world, right? And then he notices on the next page, he said the room was cold, but nonetheless, he felt like he could not breathe, right? It's just like there's no air in that room. He did not wish to open the drapes or open the windows, for he did not want the moon to come into the room. So with the feeling of a man who would die in the next hour for the lack of air, he felt his way towards the open and separate and therefore cold bed. So what else do we know about Montag and Mildred's bedroom? Where do they sleep? Do they share a bed like most married people do? They do not. They have separate beds, which isn't necessarily super uncommon for people who like maybe one snores a lot or is very restless. But Bradbury is trying to show us, what about that relationship? Do Montag and Mildred love each other? Are they in a romantic relationship? They are not. There is no contact happening, right? He says that his bed is cold, right? So it's kind of like there's no loving happening. No loving relations are happening between Montag and Mildred. They are just there, existing in the same death-like cold tomb that they sleep in. That sounds pretty terrible, doesn't it? Nobody wants that to be with their marriage, right? When you get married someday, you don't want to think about your bedroom that you're sharing with your husband and your wife, right, as a cold, dark, dead tomb. Please tell me that you're not going to do that, right? No dark, dead tombs for the marriage room. All right. Next symbol we're going to talk about is white. Next color symbol. Okay, so if black meant lack of knowledge or something negative, who can tell me what white then would represent? Yeah, Michelle?
Positivity.
It is a positive symbol. Okay, when we think about items or colors that people, or let's think about the color white. Who wears white on a very special day of their life?
Their wedding.
Their wedding, right? Brides wear white on their weddings because what is it supposed to symbolize?
Innocence and virginity and purity.
Yes. Okay, so things that have not been like tainted, right? Or exposed to the world. If you are perfect, like perfection, right? They are just surrounded by white. We think about girls on their wedding, like wedding dresses. We think of angels being white. Okay, all those things are just perfect and beautiful and amazing. Okay, so what or who is surrounded with the color white?
Clarice.
Clarice. Right? And she's white for like a couple of different reasons. Why is she white? Why is she surrounded by, what makes her pure and perfect in some ways? What does she do that she says is unlike everybody else in this whole world? What does she do? What makes her so different? What does she do when they start talking? On the top of page 5.
She says that she's crazy and she likes to walk around and take things in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she like observes human behavior, right? Right? She says she likes to smell things and think about things, right? And she asks questions, right? These types of things people don't do, right? They watch television. They don't ask questions. They let the TV tell them what they're supposed to know. They are not doing any of those things, right? And when Clarice asks Montag if he's ever had looked, at the ground, or if there was a man on the moon, right? Had Montag ever really paid attention to the fact that the grass had dew on it? No, right? So she has all this purity, right? Because she has not allowed society to, in some cases, damage her, right? Right? She's not like Mildred, right? Who wears her earbuds to bed, overdoses on sleeping pills, all that stuff. Okay? So she is very, 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 very innocent in that standpoint. There is a thing that is also white. I want you to turn to page hold it up. 3 in that first paragraph. That's like not the first true paragraph, just that first paragraph that starts on the top of page 3. What is also white? Guys, you shouldn't be having conversations with people in your house right now, please, because you need to be paying attention to what's going on in here. Page 3. Chris, what's on page 3? Tell me. That's white.
The sidewalk.
The sidewalk. Okay, why do people use sidewalks? Madeline, why do we use sidewalks? What do they do for us?
Walk on them,
Okay, to do what? You walk on them, why?
get to place.
Very good. Okay, it's a way to travel, right? Who do you see on, yeah, and Jade also, right? So that you don't get hit by cars, right? Because we don't want to walk in the street. Very good. Okay, who do you see walking on sidewalks? Like if you're looking out your house right now, who would be outside walking on sidewalks? What would they be doing? Brooke, what do you think? Eric, what's one thing they'd be doing?
Walking their dogs.
Yes, they'd be walking their dogs. Who else is out there walking on a sidewalk? Using a sidewalk? Brooke, what do you think? Who else is out there using a sidewalk besides someone walking their dog?
People jogging.
People jogging, right? Going to work, absolutely. Oftentimes you might see a group of people walking, right? Like you might be seeing kids walk to the park, right? Or people walking together, going on an evening stroll, going to the store, right? And when you are going from place to place in a group, what are you doing? Like when you go and you take your dog for a walk, Eric, I'm assuming that you have a dog, maybe. You take your dog for a walk. Are you just staring right in front of you, not paying attention to anything?
No, normally just like looking around, or like if I'm walking with someone, I'll talk to them.
Yeah, right? So it's a way for you to kind of connect, right? You're going to connect with nature. You're going to connect with your animal, make sure that they're like not running into the street, right? Or going, if they poop, you got to pick up the poop, right? All that stuff. If you're walking with a friend, you're walking with your dog or with your family, then you are having those conversations and those connections together, right? Well, if a sidewalk, or what happens to a sidewalk, what color does it turn when there's a lot of traffic on it? Does it stay all beautiful and white? Right? It gets dark, right? Because it gets dirty, right? Feet are dirty. Absolutely. Feet are dirty. Dogs' feet are dirty. People's feet are dirty. Everybody's feet are dirty. So if this sidewalk is white, what does it show us about its use? Yeah, Miranda?
That it's never been used or it hasn't been used a lot.
Yeah. So people are not making those connections, right? They're not outside enjoying what is outside, okay? They're not communicating, they're not experiencing life outside of their house. Okay, so they're not going from place to place, right? They're not going to their neighbor's house. They're not going for walks. They're not experiencing anything outside of their own house and television. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about scents. Things you smell. All right, so what types of smells did we notice in those first 15 pages?
Kerosene.
Very good. And what does Montag say that kerosene is to him?
He says that it's basically perfume for him.
Right? And he says that he tells Clarice that it never really comes off. Never really washes off. Okay, so here is something very important, right? Because are firemen in this book, are they good people? Yes or no? Are they good people? It shakes some heads. Are they good people? No, very good. I can see who's paying attention. So thank you. Very good for those of you that are shaking your head. It's not good. So kerosene is actually going to represent corruption, right? Because you spray the kerosene on the books, which is the knowledge, right? And you start them on fire. It burns all the good. Okay, so if Montag wears kerosene-like perfume, what does that tell us about firemen in general? Sean, what does that tell us about firemen in general?
Seems like they're kind of used to being around it, and they, at this point, are just kind of like, it's fine.
Who can help Sean? What does this tell us about firemen in general? He's on the right track, but let's be a little bit more specific to what we were just talking about. Yeah, Miranda?
It means that they like to burn things, essentially, and they.
Okay, so think about it. So kerosene represents corruption. Who pours kerosene on people or on things? Gina, help me. Who pours the kerosene?
Firefighters.
Firemen do. Very good, right? So if they are pouring corruption all over, right? So the firemen are corrupt, right? They represent corruption, okay? So they're bad people, okay? So if Montag says that he wears kerosene like perfume, what does that tell us about Montag? What kind of a person is he also?
That he's corrupt.
He is corrupt. Okay. Okay. And if he says that it never really comes off, what do we know about Montag in the future? Is he ever going to be, if he would decide he doesn't want to be a fireman anymore and the corruption never completely comes off, is he ever going to be pure and white and perfect like Clarice? No, right? He will always have that part of himself with him, no matter what changes he might experience in his whole entire life. Okay, what smell surrounds Clarice? What smell surrounds Clarice? Like Montag notices it and he says, well, this isn't necessarily can't possibly be because it's not the right season.
Spring.
Yeah, he smells spring, right? And apricots and strawberries. Right? So these like smells of like renewal, right? These are representing this idea of renewal and rebirth, right? Something fresh and delicious and interesting and appetizing, right? So is Clarice someone that Montag needs to be talking with for his own benefit? Yes, very good. Right, she's gonna help Montag. Okay, we're gonna talk about one more important thing. So we're gonna actually go back to the idea of Montag's bedroom a little bit. So you can add some more notes to there. So we already know that it's cold. We already know it's like a tomb. We already know they sleep in different beds. Okay. What's happening with the curtains? What does Montag not want to do with the curtains?
Shut them.
Well, you're close. Think of the other way. They are shut. So he doesn't want to do what?
Open them.
Open them. Okay, right, because it's super dark in his bedroom, right? And if you open your curtains, what comes in a little bit?
Light.
Light, right? So he doesn't want the light to come in. Right? And if we think about light, not only
the middle of the night.
The what?
Isn't it the middle of the night?
It is dark. Yeah, it's night, but you'd still have like street lights, right? That would come in, like that light would come in. Okay, what does light, if we think about darkness as the lack of knowledge, what would light then be?
The opposite, like knowledge and
Mhm.
positivity or whatever.
Yeah. And truth, maybe. So by Montag, not, oh, Michelle, what were you gonna say? I'm so sorry.
The same thing.
The same thing. Okay, so by Montag not opening up his curtains, what is he refusing to acknowledge about Mildred? What doesn't he want to admit about Mildred, or about his marriage, or about his life? He wants to keep himself shut up in the dark. Think about Romeo, right? Why did Romeo want to stay in the dark?
Because he didn't get, no. Wasn't it about like Rosalind?
Yeah, because he was rejected, right? And he knew if he had to go outside and face people, he'd have to admit the fact that he got rejected, right? So here it's kind of the same thing. Montag doesn't want to admit what about his marriage. Is he in a happy marriage? No, right? He is not happy in any way, shape, or form, right? He kind of smiled, that fake smile that wouldn't go away, like that Cheshire cat smile, right? And absolutely, Jade just commented, she said, if they're sleeping in different beds, then people could maybe see that, right? And they would be exposed to what their marriage really is, right? And then he does, after like Mildred gets her stomach pumped, and he has to admit the fact that she did, even if it wasn't on purpose, intend or like try to commit suicide, right? Whether it was accidental or not, she did, right? He had to admit that to those people that were pumping her stomach. Then he opens up the curtains, and who does he really, really, really want to talk to? He like makes his way clear across half of his backyard. And who does he really want to talk to? Chris, who does he really want to talk to?
Clarissa.
Yeah, he wants to go and talk to Clarice, right? Because she has light coming from her house. She has knowledge. She has truth. She has all of these things. But he stops himself halfway, right? And he goes back to his house. Why doesn't he go to Clarice's house and knock on the door and say, hey, can I join you? What's holding him back? What holds us all back from experiencing these things?
The truth.
Yeah, the truth. And Jade just messaged, and she said he's scared, right? Montag is scared. Right? He is afraid. He is not happy, right? All of these feelings, right? Being happy, being afraid, these are emotions, right? Are like flooding into him, things that he had never really experienced before. And what does he start doing on page 15? It's kind of hidden. Let's look at page 15 halfway down. Okay, but it's very important that we really understand what this is. Okay, so it says he comes back inside and he talks about there's moonlight outside, and then he compares it to the moonlight in Mildred's eyes, right? She's just not quite all the way there. And he says, one drop of rain, Clarice, another drop, Mildred, a third, the uncle, a fourth, the fire tonight. One Clarice, two Mildred, three uncle, four fire, one Mildred, two Clarice, 3, 4, 5 Mildred, Clarice, uncle fire, sleeping tablets, men, disposable tissue, coattails, blow wad, flush, Clarice, Mildred, uncle fire, tablets, tissues, blow wad, flush, 1, 2, 3 rain, the storm, the uncle laughing, thunder falling downstairs, the whole world pouring down, the fire gushing up in a volcano, all rushing down around and in a spouting roar, rivering stream towards morning. So what is he doing? It's very symbolic. There is no thunderstorm outside. What is he doing? Maybe for the first time in his whole life. What is the rain? What is the rain? Who can tell me? Tears, Chris, thank you. He's crying. He's crying, but does he yet understand? He can list things, but does he yet understand? He knows that this is what is making him cry, but does he know why he is crying? No, right? He has the what, but he doesn't understand why yet. Okay, he doesn't have that knowledge. Okay, good. All right, questions that you have. Okay, I want to talk about one last thing before you go, because I want you to be paying attention to these 3 elements of foreshadowing that we're going to see a lot of, that you may want to go back maybe and reread a little bit. Remember that foreshadowing are clues about the future. So our first foreshadowing is the idea of the pleasure to burn. Remember Montag at the beginning, he says, that's the first line of the book. He says it was a pleasure to burn. And then he compares how much he loves to burn books, like if he was camping and roasting a marshmallow over the flame, like it is the best thing for him. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to what happens to Montag's love of starting and being involved in the burning of books. The next thing is the ventilator grill. Okay, and that's just like where your air conditioning comes out. Like in your house or in your rooms, I see some of you have them. I can see like 4 of your, that you already have them right there in your houses, okay? It's where the heat comes out, okay? Montag stares at that ventilator grill. I want you to think about that. Why is he staring at the ventilator grill? What is hidden there? Something is hidden there. There is a secret. And the third thing I want you to be looking for is the old man in the park. Because Montag mentions, after he gets done talking to Clarice, and he's thinking about all the conversations that are happening, how he wishes that he could go back and continue that conversation that he had with the old man in the park. Okay, because all 3 of these things are going to become immensely important later on in the book. Okay, questions that you have about pages 1 to 15. Who has a question about 1 to 15? Is it making a little bit more sense to you now that we're talking about it? Yeah, because it is kind of a complicated book, isn't it? It's got everything is symbolic. I like to say it's like Lord of the Flies on crack. Everything means something else. Okay, Chris thought that was funny. Look, somebody laughed at my joke. All right, so, oh, Sean did too. All right, oh, Keelan's fake laughing maybe. Oh, he doesn't think that's funny at all. All right, so tomorrow we're going to talk about article of the week, so don't forget that. I will post those symbol meanings. I think there was 5 symbols that you needed to be, or not symbols, archetypes that you needed to look for. I will put those in the stream for you since we didn't get to it today, so that as we're reading the next time, which will be Monday, will be a reading day, that you can be looking for those archetypes as you're reading. All right, and be thinking about them. All right, anybody have questions? What's your homework? Who can tell me what is your homework tonight?
Article of the week.
Article of the week. Good, don't forget that. You are dismissed when you get this copied down.
I just wanted to say it.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see ya.
And I already did it too.
Oh,
Have a nice
good.
day.
Bye, Keelan.